Hello and welcome to part 6 of how to make file manager for Android. Today we will learn how can we delete a file from our application. Okay, so let's start. So first of all, let's go back and run the app as it is in order to think about how can we achieve this. Okay, so right now we can select and all of this. To make the app more simple, we will use one of these buttons to delete one selected file or more than one selected file. In this case, we want these buttons to be shown only if a file is selected, if a file or more than one file is selected. So to do that, we will hide that buttons as default. So we go to our layout1.xml file, and in the linear layout that defines these buttons, we will change the attribute the following. We'll type visibility and we'll set it to gone. This just hides the layout for now, okay? So if we run the app, we will see that these buttons will disappear. So the app is being compiled and is being sent to the device, and in a couple of seconds it will run. Okay, now here it is, and we don't have those buttons, so that's okay. But now we have to show them when we want, so or when we need. So here we need to add an ID to this linear layout, and we will say and call it bottom bar. Okay. Okay, that's good. Now we're gonna go to our main activity.java file, and here we have to check if at least one of these elements is selected in order for us to show or hide um, this bottom bar. Okay, so we go and create a for loop. So for int I equals 0, okay, I less than selection dot length, okay, selection dot length, and of course I plus plus. We have to I plus plus. Okay, that's cool. Now, what we are doing here is that we will check if at least if more than one is selected, we will show the bottom bar. If no uh, element is selected, we will hide the bottom bar. Okay, so here we will check if selection at I, okay, only that, so only with an if we can do that. And here we can create a boolean, for example, is at least one selected, okay, and we will set this boolean to false, okay, and if selection I we will set is at least one selected, we will set that to true, okay. Okay, and we will also break the loop because we don't really need to waste more computing time right here. And outside the for loop, what's the for loop is replaceable with for each, but that's okay. We can replace this with for each, or if you want, or not. It really depends. So we will use a for each if you'd like, but you can only use a for. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Okay, this basically means for each element in selection, check this boolean. If this boolean, then set this to true. Okay. Now it's kind of a more elegant way, yeah, but some people don't like that. But anyway, let's continue. So here we will check if is at least one selected and else. Okay, so if is at least one selected, we will go and say um we will for now just say find view by IP r.id that bottom bar, and we will set visibility to visible. Okay, and in this is false, we will set find view by IP r.id that bottom bar. We can optimize it later, don't worry. So visibility gone. Okay, so that's great. So all of these will be called if at least one is selected, and all of that will be called if selection is null. Okay. So now we have all of these right here, but we can maybe do this in a more efficient way if we don't call this from the get view method. Or just let's test how it behaves right now. We can change it later if it doesn't behave as we want. Okay, so if we select one, oh, we have to notify dataset change? No, I don't think so. So why is this not working? Oh, so when we select one, it is not working. Why is that? I'm not sure. But when we select the second one, it is working. Okay. So this is being called a couple of times, lots of times actually. Okay, if a selection, we set this to true, if at least is one selected. Okay, what we will do is we will get all this code we wrote, and we will move it to another part to make it more efficiently better to understand for us. We will move this code into the onResume method inside the onLongClickListener method. Right here, after we select and set selection, we do just this. Okay, we will run and we will see if now it works. Long click and is shown. Another long click, still shown. Another long click, still shown. If we unselect everyone, the bottom bar should be hidden, and it works. Okay, so now it has a cool design, I think. We want to delete our files. To do that, we will go to our layout 1.xml right here, and we will put a text on one of our buttons. So the first button, which is B1, we will set it to delete. So it will be text delete or just del. Okay, a simple way for now. We will run the app to check that everything works fine, to check if the del button exists. And yes, it exists right here, the first one. Okay, great. So right now we will add an action to that on click event. For that, we go to our onCreate method, and when we have set these already in our preview one, I think in the first tutorial. Okay, so it says on B1 on click listener, and when this is clicked, we will do something here. Okay, the problem is that on onCreate we are not initializing because of the permissions of Android, Marshmallow, and all that kind of stuff. So what we will do instead, we will copy and move all of these to our onResume method because we moved every piece of logic down there. So we go to our onResume method, and inside this, but before is file manager initialized to true, we will paste this. Okay, and right here, B1, when the first button is clicked, we have to delete it somehow, but we don't just want to delete it because that will be very awkward. So what we will do instead is that we will show a dialog that will ask the user something like, do you really want to delete this file? Then the user will tap yes, and the file will be deleted. And if he or she taps no, the file won't be deleted. So we start saying final alert dialog that builder. Okay, and the name of the dialog will be delete dialog. Okay, and we will assign this to new. Okay, to new alert dialog that builder, and parameter will be this. Okay, we have a warning right here. Let's see what's going on. Okay, I think this should be main activity.this if I'm not wrong. Let's see, main activity.this, and now it's working. So main activity.this. So that's our delete dialog. Now we will set the title. So we'll go and say delete dialog that title, set title actually, set title, and will be something like delete, just delete. I mean, yeah. And now we will set the message. So it will be delete dialog set message, and the message we will show will be do you really want to delete it? Okay, do you really want to delete it? Okay, we enter this in the colon and we say delete dialog that set positive button, and we will say what do we want the positive button to say. For example, in this case we want to say yes if the user wants to delete it. And here we create a new dialog interface that on-click listener. So new dialog interface that on-click listener, as you can see. And of course, don't forget to end this with a semicolon. Okay, so when this is clicked, we will have to delete the values. Now, here we have to remember that there may be one value, one cell to be deleted, one file, more than one, maybe two, maybe 10. Maybe if the user deletes a folder, we want to delete all the files inside that folder, you know? So you have to do some logic here. So what we'll do is a for loop. So for int I equals 0, okay, I less than files that length. Okay, should we do this? To find which files are selected actually. Yeah, I think that's okay. I plus plus. Okay. So inside here, we will find if a file is selected or not. Okay, and if it's selected, we will delete it. As simple as that. Of course, we will call the method to delete it. Okay. So if selection selection dot, no, selection at I. If it's selected, just go and delete it. We will delete file or folder, and we will send a file, of course. I mean, this method doesn't exist yet, but we will create it, don't worry. So delete file or folder, and we will go and say files, file list, I think. What is this? Files, I think. Yeah, files at I. Okay, delete file or folder. Okay, now we will create actually below it. It will be a private void delete file or folder, and we will do the parameter file, of course. File or folder, file or folder, really, so yeah, so we'll put that there, and inside this method we will have to figure out actually if it's a file or if it's a folder and all of that. But before we do that, we have to also set a negative button. So what happens if the user clicks no? Okay. So we go in after we set the positive button, which ends here. We will say delete dialog that set negative button. Okay. And what we want the button to say, we will be, for example, cancel or no. It can be no, for example. No, I don't want to delete it. If you want, okay. So it's a new dialog interface that on-click listener, and we'll just say delete dialog. Is this okay, or just dialog that cancel, for example? Okay. And of course, we have to show the dialog. We're forgetting doing this. Okay, we have to end this line with a semicolon, and we have to show the dialog. So we're going to say delete dialog dot show. Oops, that's show, okay? And that's it. Now we can continue to delete file or folder method. Okay, in this delete file or folder method, we will go and check if the file is a directory. For that, we go if file or folder that is directory. In the case it is a directory, we will have to kind of know if the directory is empty or not. So to check if the directory is empty, if the folder is empty, we go and say if file that list that actually if file that list this method this is not file, it's file or folder. I always a file or folder that list that length equals 0. If this is empty, if it's an empty folder, we go and just say file or folder that delete, and that's all. Now else, if the folder contains some internal directories, we're gonna list them. So we're gonna create a string array, which would be files. Okay, and we'll go say file or folder that list. Okay, file folder that list. So we have a warning right here in the delete. The result of delete is ignored, so we will ignore that warning for now. It's not that important for now. Okay, and then we create a for each method. For example, for string temp, and we will switch in every files, and of course here we're gonna say file file to delete, for example, will be new file file temp, or will okay, will this be okay? So here will be file or folder, okay, and we will call recursively this method like delete file, delete file or folder, and we will pass file to delete. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Okay. So we first checked if the file or folder, if it was a directory, okay, if it was a directory means folder. So if it's a folder, we list the content, and if it's empty, so if it's 0 right here, we delete the file or folder. As simple as that. Okay. Then if it's not empty, we delete every file inside it, and we also delete then itself. I mean, we have to still delete it. So we're gonna do a safe check if we want. We can go and say if file or folder that list. So here basically we check that length equals 0. So here we're checking that we deleted everything. We'll go and say file or folder that delete. Okay. So it's great. Now, if it's not a folder, we just call, of course, file or folder that delete. Okay, and that's basically everything we have to do in order to delete files. We will run the app and we will check, but we are not actually updating here it is. I think so. Delete file or folder. Okay. So after, let me see what's going on here. So we delete everything and this for int. Okay. So after this right here, we have to set the new kind of update what we're showing. So as we did previously, how did we have to remember how did we set the files, okay? Which is dir list files, okay, which has to be updated, so it cannot be final. So we delete the final modifier of files, and we have to say files equals dir that list files. Okay, so here after the for method for loop, we say files has to be a global variable. Okay, for that we go and say and delete these, and we go and say outside the underscore method, we're gonna say private files, private files array. Oh, actually this is a file array files. Okay, and inside here we can actually do files equals dir dot list files. Okay, so we updated the file contents like we did when we initialized all of these right here. And now we have to update the data. Okay, so we have to call this again basically. Okay, call all of this again. Let's see if it works. Okay, so we go after or for loop right here when you set files to dir, all of these, and we paste these, and we have a little problem here about file list. Okay, and the problem is that it has to be declared final. But if we declare it final, then we cannot modify it. So we have to also use file list as a global variable. Okay. Okay, so we have to use these right here as a global variable. So we will copy all of these and we will delete these. Okay, we will create a global variable after files will be private and we paste what we copied, which is list string files list, and now it should work fine. Okay, so right here after the for loop we add, but before adding we have to clear it. So files list, and we will say it to clear. Okay, which is great. Okay, now we set the data and hopefully this will work. So we now are running the app and waiting for it. So this video is kind of a long one, but it's very useful for you to learn. So if we long click an element and click on delete, this says delete. Do you really want to delete it? We press yes, then the app crashes. So we have a problem right here. Okay, what's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? We have to find the problem. Could not. Okay. Okay. What's going on here? Okay, we will. Here we have the problem. Length 4, index out of bounds. Exception. File found count. Okay, we have to also update files found count. So for that, we have to go right here and search for file count. We delete the final modifier and that will be set to files that length. Okay, of course we have to set this as a global variable again. So we will delete this int modifier and we will go outside the resume method and type private int files found count. Okay, and after here we have to also modify them right here and say files found count equals to files dot length. Okay, so now we can run the app and hopefully the error won't appear again. So we long click on this and we press on delete and we press on yes and it's deleted. But now it's selected right here. So we have to unselect the current cell. How to do that? Well, it's not that difficult. It's easy actually. We have to unselect um, the current the current the current when we delete this we have to unselect. So we go selection I equals false. Okay, we run the app again and we see finally everything is fine. So we select this, we delete, we press yes, and it works great. So this is for this video. I hope you enjoy it and I see you in the next one. Bye.